for Sunita, and the shoes as well. It just looked like her when it came out. That's why she was in hysterics. But you kind of I had to thank him. I always thank him for that. I always remind him that he saved me on that show. It was a beautiful thing, really good.
Yeah, he does beautiful work. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I love Peter. I mean, he's been working for 50 years at the 50 years on for ventriloquists. There's so many. I'm writing a book called Ventriloquist, and I interviewed Pete, and I didn't realize how many he made. He made so many for vents over here. Literally loads, and it will be in my book. You'll see that.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that. Do you have a date that you plan to release it, or is it still in the works?
I want to. I'm hoping that this situation we're all in doesn't hold it back. But I'm hoping to launch it at Kentucky next year. That's my dream. So
yeah, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, it would be. That is my dream. So I really hope. I hope to finish it by the end of the summer this year and start the editing and publishing and things. So fingers crossed. But it's the biggest thing I've ever done. I've been writing it for about 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it about the history of ventriloquism, or your story, or what's
it's about people behind the dummy. I like to get to know people, so I wanted to get to know Willie Tyler. So I've spoken to Willie Tyler. Ron Lucas has done the foreword for my book. He's my idol, so I couldn't have asked anyone else. So Ron's in the book. I've interviewed him, Dave Strassman, Jay Johnson, Paul Zerdin, Nina Conti, Jimmy Tamley, who taught me. I mean, name a ventriloquist, most of them are in the book. So I've done interviews with vents like yourself, but all over the world as well, in India and Iceland, and it's fascinating actually how many there are out there, because you don't, unless you delve like we do, you don't realize. Try ask somebody normal to name 5 ventriloquists is quite tricky, but we can read off 100, couldn't we? If we do a quiz, we'll do well.
And one of the things I love about the Ventriloquist Convention in Kentucky is that we have this international show, and it allows us to see how ventriloquism is performed all over the world.
It's amazing how different it is.
It's so different and so inspiring, and you leave the convention with creative juices flowing and new ideas, and most people leave with a new puppet too. It's just phenomenal. We talked a little bit about Peter Pullen and Verna and Marianne. I'd like to kind of quickly touch on the evolution of your main character, Arthur.
Yes.
Could you talk about how he came to be and the character and the actual puppet?
Yeah. In 2005, I had this Verna character called Butch. I dropped him from the show because I had a manager at the time, and he said, you should get an old man in the show. And I think these days ventriloquists they either have an old man, a monkey, a baby, and a mask. That's our act, isn't it? That's what we've all got. That.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, I haven't got a monkey, I haven't got a baby, I don't do the mask, but I'll get an old man. So I got the old man at the time. It was about 15 years ago now. And a mate of mine called him Arthur. He said, you should call him Arthur Lager. I laughed at that. So I thought, if I'm going to laugh at it, the audience will laugh at just me introducing him. And they still do. So I called him Arthur Lager, and I put him in the act. I was doing a hotel in Turkey, and bearing in mind, a few nights before I was using the Verna character, but I dropped him to see how the old man would go down, and he went down a storm. I'd never heard any laughter like it. But he was doing the same material.
Really?
That the younger character used to do.
Yeah.
But I made him more cheeky, and he had more of an older. He's just like a dirty old man.
Yeah.
And it worked, and everybody can relate to him. He's like your granddad, your uncle, your next door neighbor. It's a character that people really love, and I just haven't let him go since. He has grown. And you say evolution. Strangely, I started a show just before lockdown on the March the 11th. I had the idea about 5 years ago, but I wanted to have a puppet made up of Arthur Lager when he was a child. So I wanted to build up his whole life in 1 hour. So I wrote a new show called Arthur Lager Gets Real. I contacted Marianne Taylor and her company, and they made me a couple of Arthur Lagers. So I've got a 23-year-old Arthur Lager, a 40-year-old Arthur Lager, and a 60-year-old Arthur Lager, and I've got the 82-year-old Arthur Lager, and I'm getting a 7.
Hilarious.
Peter Pullen's actually making me a 7-year-old Arthur Lager, so I've got five characters, and I loved it. I opened up the show. It was the last show that I did on stage, and it was just purely just about him. So, but it's more like a play, you know. It's I think David Strassman's inspired me with this.
Yeah,
sort
this
of
is a production.
it is a production. He's an incredible performer, Strassman. I love his work, and so I like the fact that it's more of a performance and it's not me doing cabaret or a show, you know, or an act. And this is something Ron Lucas taught me, actually. He says, when I'm on stage, I don't do an act, I do a show. And there is a difference, isn't there, between the two? And I like that. I like what Ron Lucas said there. But now I've got an act and I've got a show now. So I went out and done this in March. The first hour of the show was actually the Arthur Lager Gets Real, and the second half was the rest of my characters. Well, I just done a cabaret show, but the play, I've only done it twice because we went into lockdown. But I've moved all of the tour dates to next year now. But I can't wait to get back on stage because it worked. It was. Do you know when you get a dream or an idea? This is like a whole hour that I wrote, and you feel so proud putting on something brand new. And I knew it was a good idea, but you don't know until you put it on stage whether it's going to work. And I love your reaction to it about Arthur Lager.
Oh, it's hilarious.
In different stages, you know, you could do anything with it.
Yeah, it's got so much potential. Now I've got to ask, does it start with the current version of him and he's looking back, or does it start with the baby? Yeah. Okay, wow.
Very good. So we opened with the show, and actually the first night was slightly different to the second night. So I started with him, and then we went into a moment where he was going to look back, and then he was a baby, then he was born, then he was the 7-year-old, then he just grew up, you know. So like every 8 minutes I would change the character, but there'd be a screen with some date changes and things on there and some backdrops. And at one time he was working with the Beatles when he was in his 20s. So you play some Beatles music. It's a nice little link. Yeah. And I wrote some gags around that time in Liverpool. And then he was a stand-up comic for a while. And then he joined me, you know, as a ventriloquist dummy later on. But yes, it's such a nice piece to do. Actually, I'm going to tour it for years because it's a huge passion to do something brand new in it. And I think it went down better than my act I've been doing for 20 years. And my wife said she loved it. The contrast between the two shows was, it was like a play, and then it was a comedy show afterwards. Yeah. But, so the first night was different to the second because my wife said, I think you should probably do a little bit more comedy before the show starts. So what I did in the cabaret show, I brought Arthur Lager back to do my main act with him, and my wife Nina said it doesn't work. You've lost the essence of Arthur Lager. Bringing him back, it's too much, you know. So now I've separated him. I just do the Arthur Lager show in the first hour, and the second hour is just those characters. But the second night I went back, I started with him, started to do some cabaret and introducing him to a lady in the audience. And then every time he came back as an older character, he would recognize the lady in the audience and it'd say, "Hey, you were here 7 years ago." And it was a running gag. But I wrote that just by my wife saying, change that little part to it. And it became quite a big part of the evening. It was hilarious by the end. But I rewrote the show the second night, and so I can't wait to get it back because it was a dream to do. It's really nice.
I love the originality in that idea. I'm curious, did you write the entire show, or did you write it as you got the versions of the puppets?
I wrote the show before I got all the puppets.
Okay. Wow.
Mary Ann Taylor's matte puppets made 3 of the characters for me. And so, it was just brilliant. I just couldn't wait to get the characters, and that you know when they send you pictures of your character, and you make all of your own, or You don't send yourself pictures when you make.
I make, yeah, I do now.
Yeah,
I get to a point where I put the eyes in and it clicks with me. Yeah.
yeah. It's just brilliant when it all starts coming together, and your vision ends up on stage or on a piece of paper, and then you get it on stage. It's a beautiful thing, from birth to stage, and that's what I want to
It's
do.
a new level of excitement.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? It's an idea that just manifests into something beautiful like comedy, and I saw something recently in lockdown during watching Jeff Dunham and him building a character in lockdown. And then, have you seen the results since?
Yes, I have.
It's incredible. He's such an inspiration, Jeff.
Yes.
Because he doesn't just build helicopters and dummies. He's a great stand-up comic. Brilliant,
Yes.
brilliant vent. But Jeff was at the top 25 years ago, when I was starting out. Jeff was one of the greats, because he was doing all the Montreal comedy festivals. That's when I first saw him in the late 80s. I saw him on TV over here, and he was at the top then. For British vents, we were like, wow, who is this guy? And then it took him another 25 years to just, the YouTube took off, didn't it? It's incredible.
It is. It is amazing. It's amazing that he's, you can't imagine how hard he's worked to stay on the top since then.
I know, yeah.
His marketing department, and it's all in who you come to contact with and who your branding, and it's, oh my gosh. And of course, all of his touring all over the world that he's doing. Truly amazing. Could we meet Arthur?
You can, yes. Got to wake him up. And if it's 2 a.m. over here, so my whole family's asleep. I probably sound like I'm whispering, but he's what now? Yes, now. Can I just ask you, Landon, why are most of the great ventriloquists from Texas? What's going on with Texas? Is there a club there?
I don't know, but they've all performed for a year at the Six Flags over Texas, which is an amusement park. So I have to do that next summer.
Are you doing it?
I plan to. I'm going to try to. So we'll see.
Well, if it works,
it is ironic.
You're on the list. Oh, hello. Well,
hello.
1 2 1 2. Hello, London. All right, no, it's not London. It's Landon. You're what? That's Landon. I thought you said we're going to London. No. Oh, hello.
Hello there. How are you,
Landon? You all right?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we're having a great interview with Steve here, and I'm sorry we had to wake you up. I know it's
well, it's nothing without me.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's true. I mean, I did see your appearances on Britain's Got Talent. You were phenomenal, by the way. So I wanted to just tell you that in person.
Yeah. I wasn't I? I was good, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were great. And you're a hit with the ladies, too. What is your, have you always been a hit with the ladies? Is that
the natural, I'm such a natural. Yeah. It's in the eyes. Yeah. The ladies do have his eyes. Yeah.
He's got a
little bit of work done since BGT, though, He does some work done on his face. Oh, yeah, some work done. Did I? Yeah. Well, on a celebrity, didn't I? On a hottie.
Yeah, since you've had the work done, Arthur, it's great because he's got these beautiful eyes that can be seen from far away. He's got, when you move his mouth, it's great for any type of production that you were to perform.
Yeah, that's why I use these big characters, these Muppet style characters, because you can't see their mouths moving. I can see yours moving. It's really early in the morning, so that's why I think. I mean, with the hard figures, it's kind of difficult to see those little lips, the leather lips moving, which I used to use one of those when I was a kid. But I started to do bigger venues, and me and Arthur, we worked at the London Royal Albert Hall, which is like about 6,000 seats. So you need bigger characters, for those sort of venues and theatres over here.
For sure.
They could be quite big, so when you're doing tours and things. So it's good. It's good to see the mouth moving and things. Yeah, it is, isn't it? 1 2.
And I love, he's just got such an original look that is, super.
Yeah, super he's very cheeky. He's got his summer outfit on now. Do you like it, Landon? There it is. There you go.
Great. I love it. Oh, I love the shorts. Those are great.
Summertime here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's summertime. We don't know if we're allowed out, but on in lockdown. Yeah, on in lockdown. I did lockdown for years. You're stuck in the trunk.
I think all of us performers are dressing up just to walk around the house and perform in the mirror.
Yeah, trying out new shoes.
Yeah,
yeah, this is it. So I mean, a lot of my characters are in storage actually. So we're not going anywhere. Going nowhere. So yeah. Oh, there you go. Who does your hair?
Mine is real. I don't know if yours is, Arthur, but
It used to be. The hairs up the nose are. They're mine.
Oh.
Yeah. I use a toothbrush to brush them.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it's quite heavy actually. He's got quite a heavy character. He's got a heavy head because the eyes actually, I think whatever the eyes are made out of, they're quite heavy inside there because they're real eyes.
Yeah, they're super great for like promotional shots and of course to be seen far away. Thank you, Arthur, for waking up and being part of the show.
Thanks. I got that asleep. I just wish I could close the eyes. I can't close the eyes. See you later.
All right, bye-bye. That's
there
fantastic. Well, Steve, what is one of your favorite show memories and one of your maybe not so favorite, or where something went wrong and you're like, well, now I learned from that?
Things I'm just trying to think things that go wrong. You could be heckled sometimes where things go wrong. I did have somebody who was extremely intoxicated during one of my shows, and that it was a New Year's Eve actually. It was quite a long time ago, but they walked up onto the stage. And there was security there, but the security was just laughing, and they just let this happen. So they walked up onto the stage, and they just started shaking my character, and it was on my arm. But I think some people, when you have a drink, you can't believe that they're puppets, because they thought the character was real, and they were shaking it and they were talking to the puppet, But I think they were so drunk. They didn't know what they were doing. Have you heard this story before? This ventriloquist called Terry Rogers. She was on stage once, and a drunk person walked up onto the stage and was arguing with the character. And it got so angry, it went to punch. Terry went back like this because she thought he was going to punch her. But he actually went for the dummy, and he punched the dummy's head, and it came out of the socket. It was a wooden character, and the dummy's head flew across the stage. But just as it done that, because she's very quick thinking, Terry was, she made it go, wah! She done the voice as he flew away across the stage, which is funny.